In this video, I'll discuss the college search and the importance of finding your fit. While there are many factors that go into deciding if a school is the right fit, I think they can generally be grouped into these three areas. While they're even here in my pretty little picture, the reality is that's not the case for most families. It's important to reflect on your priorities early and often, and to realize that they might change as you go through the process. At the end of the day, there is no one right place for everyone. What's right for you won't be the right thing for your best friend. We all have different circumstances, wants, and needs, and your college choices are going to reflect that. Also, though, remember that there's not one perfect school. It can be hard to remember that as we're waiting for those college decisions, but the reality is that there are going to be many schools out there that are a great fit for you, and many of them will be on your college list. At the end of the day, while you might have some strong preferences, maybe one place you love above the others, the reality is that there really are many places where you could ultimately be happy and successful. The easiest thing to do is we're starting with a big group of about 4,000 schools, and so you want to kind of try to bring that number down quickly to something more manageable that won't be so overwhelming. One of the easiest things to think about is location. So start thinking about how far you want to be away from home. Are you looking to commute? Do you want to be within the state? Are you open to going out of state, just a couple of hours away? Or are we looking for something across the country or perhaps on the other side of the world? Remember that with those farther distances come the complications of getting there. How close are those places to the airport? How expensive is it to get there? All of those things need to be taken into account as you're thinking about where to go. Also, what about campus setting? We live in a very suburban area of New Jersey, but there are schools right in downtown New York City, or perhaps you're looking to stay in the suburbs, maybe something somewhat more rural, like James Madison here in the picture, or there are places that are much more rural than JMU as well. So think about how close you want to be to what I call stuff. Next, we've got the size. So you can start with the largest figure there, the student enrollment. So are you looking for a smaller school, a medium school, a large, or a super duper large? We attend a fairly large high school, about 2,400 students at HHS. That would be kind of on the border between a small and a medium-sized college. So yes, there are places that are even smaller than HHS, and you can go there for college if you want. But you could also find a place that is more than 10 times the size of HHS and attend school there. Think about what would be a good fit for you. Do you want to see familiar faces, or are you okay with seeing, brand new people everywhere you go every day? Also, think about class size and the size that is necessary in order for you to be successful. Be real with yourself. If you're talking about 300-person classes, will you go to class every day, or do you need that closer interaction provided by a smaller class size? Next, 2-year or 4-year schools. The reality is that while we talk about RVCC, and that's the most convenient and affordable community college out there, there are community colleges all across the country, and we do have students who go out of our county or also out of state for community college. Think about where you're looking for any other factors, perhaps a single gender campus or an HBCU. Now we start to move beyond the factual information and into more of the feel of the campus and the features of the campus. The first ones are the easy that I already talked about. Those are the easiest ones. This is where things start to get a little bit more difficult. But you really need to do some reflection about what you're looking for on a campus. Are you envisioning a place with a ton of school spirit and a place that looks like NC State here, where at some point you're going to have the opportunity to go to a football game with tens of thousands of people? Or is that not your scene and you're more the kind of student that's looking for a place where there are going to be hackathons at 1 o'clock in the morning on a Friday? What are you looking for? What about clubs and organizations, or ROTC? At the end of the day, you're looking to go to a campus and feel like when you look around, you can see the types of students that you might be interested in. You can see students involved in the same kinds of things that you might be interested in. I like to ask college recruiters, tell me about what are some of the most popular clubs on your campus, or if you were to kind of summarize the students on your campus, what are some adjectives that you would use? And sometimes they'll tell me outdoorsy, sometimes they'll tell me quirky, sometimes they'll tell me activist. So look for that kind of information because it's going to tell you a lot about the personality of the school. At the end of the day, you want to think about whether or not you could call this place home. Then we've got academics. Do not go to a school if they don't offer the program that you're looking for. If you're not sure what you're looking for, that's okay too. You're undecided, or perhaps you have an area of interest, but you're not exactly sure what. If that's the case, you want to know, what does that school do to help you decide? What kind of mechanism is there out there to help you move forward? If you do know what you want to do they have the major? Beyond this particular major, what else do they offer in related majors? Because students, there are so many things out there that you have yet to be exposed to just because you're only 16 or 17 and still in high school and you haven't had that opportunity yet. So you want to know that there's a lot of breadth of different programs. Also think about any special programs, perhaps combined programs with grad school, or other things that might make a school particularly attractive to you. Think about research opportunities, internships, and co-ops, and not just are they available, because spoiler alert, they're always available, but what percentage of the students have those opportunities, how do they get them, and when do they start getting them? Let's remember, we're talking about a large investment here, and we want to make sure that there's a return on that investment and that there's a lot of value to what we're doing. And at a school where you might be paying 40, 50, 60, $70,000, you want to make sure you have access to the opportunities provided. And then give some other thoughts. Anything else special that you might be looking for, and whether that's going to affect where you apply, or ultimately it might affect where you wind up choosing at the end of the day from amongst the schools you've been accepted to. Also, in terms of academic, there's also a personality that goes into academics at a school. Some schools are more collaborative than others. Some are known to be somewhat cutthroat. How rigorous is the school? Are you looking to be a big fish in a small pond, or a small fish in a big pond? Do you want to be towards the top of the class where you feel like, you know what, I'm pretty sure I'm going to have a whole lot of opportunities because, I'm a stronger academic student here? Or am I okay with being a little bit on the lower side, and I'm going to take the fact, and I know that I'm going to have to work hard there to be able to access those opportunities? We're also looking for an academic profile match. And in the future videos, I'll talk about building a college list and how to know if a school is a good potential match for you. Finally, we've got that financial area. So first, we've got the sticker price and the cost of attendance. That's the tuition, the fees, the room and board, and other expenses that go into attending a college, perhaps commuting expenses, or just athletic fees, things like that. Every student is going to have an estimated family contribution that is calculated by the FAFSA form and by the federal government. You can go ahead and start to calculate those ahead of time. There's some calculators in the parent accounts on SCORE. And also, there are linked on my website. There's some other ones as well. You'll want to think about how to apply for financial aid and recognize that your family circumstances, whether it's a one or two parent household, divorce, non-custodial parents are involved, that might dictate what the best options are in terms of the schools that make up the list in order to maximize financial aid. You also want to think about things like merit scholarship likelihood, realizing that the higher the student is above those average criteria in terms of GPA and test scores of being used, the more likely it is that the student will get a merit scholarship. Merit scholarships are also, on average, more likely at private schools as compared to public schools. Know the school's policies. There are some schools out there, generally the most selective institutions, that don't offer merit aid at all. Everything is based on need-based aid, but my definition of need and their definition of need might be different. Then we've got in-state and out-of-state. Know that, especially for students who are in lower income brackets, your aid will be maximized if you stay in state in the state of New Jersey. So I recommend that you make sure that you have some New Jersey schools on your list if you know that you have a lower EFC. Also, for the bulk of our students recognize that when we start talking about out-of-state schools, they're not all created equal. Some publics are very generous in terms of financial aid. There are some, UDEL, Ohio State, University of Alabama, they give great out-of-state scholarships. Other schools, Penn State, not so much. So make sure that you understand where you're applying and take that into account in the list that you're making. Don't wait until February, March of the senior year when financial aid packages start rolling in to realize that it's not going to work out for your family. In our next video, I will be taking you through SCORE and how it can be used throughout the college search process.